morning.
Okay.
Okay. How can I help you?
I guess there's just so much going on from every angle. It's like, I don't know, my life is sort of unraveling in a way, in a lot of ways, but I know it's all super positive. It's been a long time coming, but
Okay.
just from even, the 17-year relationship ending that, was just super dark and horrifically abusive the last few years. And finally, taking that, he's still blocked, like zero contact, like just reconciling, that part of me that was involved in that. And also, stuff with my business and creative stuff that I was in denial about, and all that's kind of been coming to a head, but been being dealt with. It's great. And then kind of, I guess, one of the main things that's kind of fucked with my recovery, I guess, is I have this ankle issue that's come up, sort of in the summer it started. And having pain in my ankle and not being able to walk, and I mean, I'm able to walk, but like not being able to do hikes or do any exercising, and just sort of going to all these appointments and doctors, and all the doctors have been cool and awesome and great, but I mean, it's, they've all let me know that certainly being on the heavier side has contributed to my ankle. I have a completely collapsed arch, and I'm in physical therapy, and so it's sort of like that's when feelings started creeping in of, that I did this to that I contributed to fucking up my foot for life. Like, basically, they're like, yeah, this is, you're going to have to live with this now, and losing weight would probably help. And so just having these feelings coming in, like, fuck, I wish I could lose weight and to help my body. And also realizing, I'm still, I've been listening to your tapes all the time. I'm committed to no dieting. Absolutely. That's not even an option. I'm all that, there's been a ton of intense work going on inside, but it's like, and I'm aware of the fact that, yes, I would rather deal with the pain of a hurt ankle and limping around, because it's something I can sink my teeth into. At least it's an actual something I can deal with, instead of the mental fucking torture of all this shit. So I'm, I'm like, okay, fine. If this is my life, fine. I'll just put all okay, we're doing it.
Yeah, well, and not only that, but the weight that you're being told to take off was caused by the psychological ramifications of the desire to lose weight. So it makes no sense for you to go back into trying to lose weight, which is how you got the weight on in the first place.
Yeah, and, funny enough, the months before this really started getting to me, and I sort of, my weight had maintained, and I was even kind of losing a little here and there, weighing myself occasionally, and just feeling peaceful. And, like, the minute I started worrying about it, I've, like, promptly put on, like, 7-8 pounds in the last 6 weeks.
Well,
like,
and you'll notice you're sensitive to food, and you're sensitive to your anxiety with food is going up. So having anxiety while you eat food isn't helping, biologically isn't helping things. Again, sure, if we were to put you in a vacuum, make you, put you in a coma, if all we talk about is gravity, like the gravitational pull to the earth, those doctors are right. But how close-minded is that? And ignorant.
Yeah.
And just completely unaware of the actual cause of the problem. That would be like, that's kind of like, what are you, dumb? Sure, of course, maybe we should change gravity. Of course that's going to help the situation, but how did I get this big?
Yeah.
Maybe they should tell me to stop doing that.
Which, it was kind of funny too. I was telling them, I was sort of telling them, like, look, I'm in body image therapy. Like, I might just be fat forever or fatter. We're just going to all have to deal with this. They all just, and they were all, like, smiling and support. Nobody was giving me shit. It was more, whatever. They just were giving me facts. And then I was saying to them, wait, are you telling me, of course, I was like, are you telling me that, that from gaining weight, this happens, and they're like, well, we can't tell you that's not part of it. Yeah, like,
of course.
And then I kind of took that to heart. It just was, I don't know, it's just grieving, also grieving, getting older and grieving. Here comes the breakdown of the body and my youth and freedom and, mobility, or, just here it comes. Like, kind of brace yourself, which I have to brace myself, I guess. So dealing with the ankle issue, and then, I was dating this guy who was, like, strangely enough, obsessed with very focused on my body and loving my body, which was fun. I kind of went down this lust rabbit hole for a month or so. And, he was, that's kind of cool. I basically, he's not for me. I caught him in some couple lies, and, like, so I'm kind of grateful now that it kind of cooled, but I was just noticing during that whole thing where it was like, okay, I started to become more like, how do you deal with not caring? My body's not an ornament, but then also having someone objectify it, and which is fun, but then start, okay, well, he hasn't seen me fully, well, if I'm actually naked, I don't want this muffin top. That's not set. Like, starting to critique myself and, like, getting stressed, like, oh no, I do want to just lose a little bit. Why wasn't I happy 20 pounds ago? I was amazing, like, and then wanting to go back into dating, and, like, can I even fucking date? Like, is that just gonna fuck with my recovery? Like, do I have to have, like, a sabbatical? But then I deserve fucking fun and to meet someone, but it's like I'm just scared to do it because I don't want to go back down that whole thing where it just starts, I want to look cute and I want to look sexy, and no, I'm fat right now. I don't want to fucking...
Well, hold on a second. You're already down that rabbit hole for you to even have that thought.
Yeah, I know.
Right? So the issue is you've never really surrendered your desire for thinnerness in the first place. You just put it on pause, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, no, I've...
And so that's why you feel the way you do. You're suffering in your own... holding on to these beliefs. You're suffering thinking that they're still righteous and true and there's no alternative. One of the common things I see people get stuck in, and I'm sensing that right now, is you're feeling sorry for yourself.
Probably.
Well, it wouldn't be probably. It would be a yes or a no.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It is. I am feeling sorry for myself.
It's okay.
It's just also uncovering all these personality traits that I'm just a little horrified by, and then I know I'm probably narcissistic to even be horrified by that.
Well, don't, good. I'm just going to say good to all of it, because it's all good to me. But this is part of the process if you really want to recover, and that's the problem, is you want recovery, but you don't want to do anything. Right? It's like, just close your eyes, just be in denial, just don't look at it, but I'm going to pretend like I'm doing it.
I almost feel like I've just been, like, over looking at, I mean, I'm so,
okay.
I'm just, no, I mean, it's my main focus right now. I mean, I'm just, everywhere I turn, I'm just,
Okay, so what happens when you just give up and quit and decide you're done? What will happen?
That I'm done with
the body image, just trying to lose weight. Just go there first.
It feels really fucking good, and I've had, like, days of it and weeks of it of just feeling so fucking happy and free, and then it is really hard to give up wanting to be pretty and wanting to be attractive. Like, it's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, well, hold on a second. Pretty and attractive, you're speaking relative to one viewpoint. And so that viewpoint, that's the viewpoint that you're holding on to. You're ignorant to all other perceptions of what that is. And the other thing is you're putting so much life in what that means and the symbolism of that, as if that's the most important thing, is for you to be pretty.
I know, so it has been.
It is. It's not. It has. It is, and it will continue to be this way. Until you accept that you're not. Okay. So notice I went in the direction you don't want.
Yeah.
So you surrender it. So you go the direction of the pain. You actually go into the pain and accept the pain. So you're not pretty. How's that sound? Go there. You are unattractive.
Good. Like, I'm sick of that.
So go there. Like, really go there. Don't go there just because it sounds good to me. Oh, yeah, I feel that way, Robin. Bullshit. If it comes back, it's because it's still there. It doesn't come back for people who surrender it fully. It just doesn't. Because it loses its reality, and it's a funny fucking joke on the other side, and it's not a joke to you. You either have pause or you don't. And so the problem is you really believe it and hold on to it, and you're holding yourself to it. So the feeling sorry for yourself, that's normal for the narcissism, because you want your supremacy, you want your superiority, and that's what it really ultimately comes down to, is this idea that in being superior, being praised, being put on a pedestal, being seen as special, having the uniqueness, having that separation, or being seen as, again, I'm just going to say sparkly and special. To you, that is life. So that's why everything that's normal, dull, whatever it is, that is the, like, I'm not pretty. Well, relative to what, it feels bad. Everything in neutrality feels terrible. Like, I'm alone. I'm lost. I'm, in a space of isolation. It probably feels horrible, terrible. And so you feel sorry for yourself because I can't be pretty. I can't be loved. You go into the self-pity, and that is in relation to the narcissism. The narcissistic, core of your survival, which is to say you can only survive if someone sees you as sparkly and shiny and special, and you just attach that symbolism to thinness and beauty.
Absolutely. That's another thing that I've been grappling with, which is I have these occasional conflicts with people in my life, my loved ones, and this and that, and it's usually due to some kind of behavior on my part. And I've been getting the bottom line is that I have this epiphany. I kind of be like, okay, when I'm acting this way, or when I'm, what am I feeling inside, or whenever I'm feeling like having a conflict with someone, or I'm feeling anxiety, or I'm like, okay, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? And I have this huge epiphany, which was, I'm sure, not a newsflash to anybody that knows me. But I was like, oh, fuck, I'm controlling. I'm a fucking control. I want to control things, and when I can't control people or a situation, I get anxiety, and then I get huffy or bitchy, and that was like,
so you're
I cried my eyes out for an hour that I was a controlling person, because I realized I've always judged other people that are controlling and felt superior to them, and so it was so shocking that I'm controlling, and like I'm sobbing into my pillow. Then I was like disgusted with myself for that, and I was like, I'm a clusterfuck of, I do need to be the favorite, and I have these juvenile emotions that I'm suddenly aware of. That I was the youngest daughter, and I'm everybody. Like, the recurring theme in my life is that people are like, "You're my favorite. You're so amazing. You're so special. You're my favorite. You're my favorite. You're the best." And I'm everyone's favorite. And how much I get off on that. And now I'm just like grossed out. All this, listening to you all about surrendering your identity, and I just want to be humble and surrender this shit. Like,
okay, so how are you gonna do it? I'm gonna tell you how to do it now.
Okay, it's good. Tell me.
You need to accept that you're not gonna be pretty, that you're not gonna be attractive, that no one is going to want to be with you. You go and do what you don't want.
Yeah.
So if you let go of this, what's going to happen? So what's going to happen if you are never thin again? If you're going to be fat and fatter, and you're going to have this hobble, terrible ankle, and just go into everything that you're afraid of and accept it. Like, not just, okay, I'm closing my eyes and I'm accepting it. No, it's like, I have to literally accept all of it. I'm getting older. See, the narcissist in you is upset about that. So it's just like, Jesus Christ.
Absolutely.
Then you accept it. I'm getting older. The narcissist is going to feel sorry for herself. I'm lacking. I'm void. I'm limited. Poor me. You know. Does it make sense to feel that way if by going into the pain of loss that you're relieved from the suffering, the controllingness, and all those symptoms that are not personality traits? They're symptoms. All of those symptoms, wouldn't you agree, if we talk about the suffering and the misery, that's what they are. The controllingness, the management, the work, the constant feeling of having to do something about it. The drama. Would you agree you're fatiguing from that? You can't do that anymore. You're fatiguing. It's not working anymore. Would you agree?
No. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what, so there's that. There's two separate things. They're not the same thing. There is suffering that is doing all of this, the slavery, right? The dieting, the constant need to excuse your food consumption, the alcoholism, the hoarding, the shopping, whatever it is, right? The controllingness. That is full of suffering, okay? But the only reason you do all that is to avoid pain. So when we talk about, if you let go of all of this suffering, you're left with the pain that you don't want, which is why you're doing all this suffering, all the work. Right?
I mean, isn't there a certain amount of suffering to, like, growth, though, in any way, shape, or form? Like, don't you have to you're not going to feel pleasant and happy to see these, the dark corners of your heart and your mind. You're going to see some shit you don't like, and it's going to be depressing.
I guess so. I don't know why what does that matter, what you just said?
I don't know, I guess I just don't want to feel like I'm fucking up by suffering.
No, you're not. I'm not judging it at all. I'm trying to explain it to you.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with what you're doing in your suffering. Just don't complain about suffering if you want to keep on doing what you're doing. Right? So let's look at this more simply.
Okay.
You're sick and tired of suffering, and that's why I'm telling you to do what you're doing. Or to stop doing what you're doing. I'm like, you got to stop wanting to be thin. You got to stop. And you're like, but I'm not going to be pretty. Okay? So you go into thought of being pretty. Because that ultimately is a source of pain.
Yeah.
Not being pretty feels painful to you. Not being like everybody's center of attention. That's pain to you.
Yeah.
Right? And so we look at this being the center of attention. By being able to do that, it removes pain. But it causes all this suffering and damage and baggage and all this, you're leeching energy and controlling everybody and all the work it takes for you to be the center of attention, right?
Yeah.
It's like being it's trying to be superior. You're looking for superiority,
Yes.
separation from others. I want to be special.
Yes.
It's a betterness. I want to be better than. I want to be superior. And without that, what does it feel like? So you could say, well, what that superiority does is it removes the pain. So whatever it is I have to do, I'll do it because it removes pain. Yeah. So I suffer, I work, I slave, I control, I micromanage. I'm constantly overworking, underworking, overworking, and feeling exhaustion, and then have all these other symptoms of paralysis, all because of all the work I have to do to reach these high levels of superiority so that I don't have pain, right? In the meanwhile, you're living in total freaking misery, chasing some mirage that doesn't exist, thinking that in the mirage you won't feel pain, all the while living in total misery, right? So what you'll find is as we remove the misery, you're left with pain. Because the misery is like the slavery. In terms of body image, in terms of weight loss, in terms of dieting. Yeah. Okay? The misery is the dieting. It is so fucking miserable. The restrictions, the micromanagement. I can't have this. You can't have that. This is bad. This is good. The shame and the guilt associated to food. Constantly having to negotiate for food. The guilt and shame you had for eating food after you eat the food. The continuous sense of shame about the body. Right?
Yeah.
That's the misery. If you were to stop the dieting and we wanted to stop all of that, what do you have to go into? The pain of being fat. Right? Because the only point of dieting is to reduce your fat.
Well, I'm not dieting. I'm just upset. I'm having obsessive compulsive. I guess I'm having little mini binges.
So that means you're dieting. That means you're holding yourself to an actual restrictive belief system. You are dieting. You're just not implementing it.
I'm just like nervous. I just get nervous and.
So you are implementing a diet.
I probably should eat this, but then that's the fucked up thing.
That's the diet.
I should eat it.
Yeah, that's dieting.
I fucking want.
So, but that's dieting. I shouldn't eat this. Well, that's a belief system of dieting. So if you're holding yourself to that, you are dieting. Whether you actually restrict food or not is irrelevant.
God, I might as well fucking do a better job of it if I'm going to do it.
Well, that's the funny thing, as you're not taking into account your natural humanness, which you cannot change, which is wired through millions of years of evolution to seek out the pleasure and safety and comfort and security of food. It's fucking funny when you look at it. So it's just, so anyway, so that's the misery. We're talking about the misery right now. Absolute horrible misery of hell. That's what we're talking about right there.
Yeah.
Okay. So the only reason why you're doing that is because there is an illusion you can get rid of this pain. If I don't do this, it feels painful, and the pain will come up. And those are the moments you start to feel sorry for yourself. I can't have this. I can't have that. And you feel sorry for the fact that you have to be in this pain. But the pain is really first of all, it's made worse by that victim positionality with the poor me. I'm the one that can't be the center of the tension. You know, it's that narcissistic, self-centeredness that is the source of the victim mentality, which magnifies the actual result of the pain to make us feel worse, right?
Yeah.
So when you go into actual pain, if you look at it without the magnifying self-righteous, self-centered, pity party, it's really not that big of a deal, especially because you're removing the suffering. I think what a lot of people, and I remember feeling this way too, and I have other clients in the same exact place who are doing the same thing. The illusion is that if you stop doing all of this, if you go into the pain, it's going to feel, you're going to be suffering in the pain too. Like, I'm going to be fat and I'm going to hate myself too. Forever. And I'm going to hate myself my whole life. And I'm going to live with self-hatred forever. That's the illusion. But that's actually not going into pain. That's going into victimization, which is a manipulation to continue to do what you're doing. So think of it this way. If you feel sorry for yourself, if you have these pity parties, what do you expect is going to happen?
And I'm still in shock that I'm feeling sorry for myself.
Okay.
I guess I'm having a hard time.
I'm going to ask the question again. So what do you expect is going to happen when you feel sorry for yourself for having to be the weight you are because of the years of self-abuse you did trying to be thinner than you are? If you feel sorry for yourself, are you really going to accept this? Are you really going to recover if you feel sorry for yourself?
No.
No, it's just a way to manipulate the situation to go back and do what you've always done, which is the illusion of freedom from this pain, but it's actually a huge ball of suffering, right? Because you know what's going to happen to your food intake instantly. And you start to get greedy. I deserve to eat. And you get pissy, just like you've always been when you go on diets,
Yeah.
So you want your way all the way around, and you just have to accept you're going to fail everywhere. Everywhere is failing. So get over it. Because your way of doing things has sucked. I don't know why you're promoting the way you do things in your head as if you're actually losing out. Because you're not really losing out on anything, because what you've had is shit.
Yeah.
So poor you get rid of your crappy way of living. If you were to tell the truth, it's a fantasy that you're sad about. It's not your reality. Your reality is pathetic.
That's true.
So why feel sorry for yourself? Because you can't live a pathetic life anymore? I had this same conversation with myself in recovery. So don't get offended that I'm telling you this. You have to have this conversation with yourself. You know, I'll play the bad guy on this side, but you're going to need to really look at your shitty ass life and the way you've ran it and laugh at how crummy it is. And admit to yourself it's not superior. This is horrible. Nobody should have to live like this just to sparkle. And why would we promote this? It's like promoting mental illness.
God, I feel fucking bad for myself right now.
I know, right? Poor me. I have to suffer from the consequences of narcissism.
Or just, why didn't I wake up earlier? It's like I'm 52. I guess I can just...
Because narcissists who live this way have to suffer before they finally admit to themselves that what they're doing is not worthy of promotion. And it takes a lot of suffering for people to finally say, you know what? I'd rather go into the pain of inferiority, and that's really what this is about.
Yeah.
I don't want to be inferior. Oh. Okay, well then go back and live your pathetically amazing way of life. You know, you have to really look at, is this superiority thing really worth it? Because you kind of lose your entire soul in life in it. You have no freedom. And you're a miserable wretch. So it's like, for what?
Oh my God.
For what? For a moment that someone goes, you're amazing! And then they go home and you're miserable. For a moment of shining bright. It's like, wow. There's no heart in that. There's no reality in it. It's all fake. And it's extremely pretentious. You know, where's the reality in that? There is no reality in it because it's all miserable. For a moment of an illusion of superiority. It's just an illusion. It never really lasts anyways. And you're probably in your head higher on yourself than anybody is around you.
Well, I'm just at the whim of, you know, other people and how and needing to be just stuck in these juvenile. Yeah, I mean, I am fucking pathetic. You know, I had over Thanksgiving, like with this family thing, and my niece, who's a teenager and adores me, and I'm kind of her mentor, and we're really close, and it's nice. You know, my other friend was with me, and my niece started gravitating towards her and liking her better, and I literally was like, what am I feeling inside? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm feeling, oh, she likes you better, and she likes you better now, and I was like, you know, feeling like my heart was pounding, and it was like, you know, an upsetting thing that my niece liked her better, and I was just...
And she's mine. I'm claiming her. She's my territory.
And I just admitted, I confessed, I came out of the closet. I just said, I'm so fucking childish. I'm jealous because I think she likes you better. Like, you know, and it was just, it felt so, like, gross. And I'm just vulnerable to anyone that likes anyone better than me. Like, I'm 52 years old.
This clearly isn't an age issue. You need to get over that whole concept of I should be mature. There's plenty of people who are in their 70s who are this way. It's not a chronological, like, time issue.
I know. I'm just, I guess I need to get over that.
You do.
My birthday's next week, and I'm just like, I'm in my 50s now. I'm no longer, you know, it was traumatic enough turning 50. Now I'm in my fucking 50s. I'm gonna blink and be 60. So deal with it. It's over.
Well, you know, the sad thing is you've lived this whole life suffering. So 50 years is good and nice, or at least 40 years. This stems from a very juvenile state of mind, which is, you know, where you stopped progressing. It was the moment you decided, I want to be a star. That's when this happened. So however old you were when that happened, that's how old you are.
Yeah.
So what, 9, 8?
Probably like 7 when my dad kind of dumped my older sisters and started taking me on bike rides, and I was his favorite little Chrissy, and my sisters were jealous, and I never had a little sister that came along and took it from me. Like, I was kind of forever the little baby, little favorite. I don't fucking know. Fucking knows. But yeah, it's childish. It's embarrassing.
Why would it be embarrassing?
It just feels gross.
Well, let's not judge it because it's true. Because it's true. That's why it's embarrassing. Because it's true.
Yeah. It's just I've never come right. It's just to come right out and say it and to be dealing with it in the light of day, not have it be my little dark secret.
Yeah, it's true, and that's what you're embarrassed about. That this is the reality. I can create a facade all I want, but the reality of it is inside is I'm severely paralyzed by my need to be the center of attention.
Yep, exactly.
And that center of attention has been, what do you really get out of it? In reality, is it really that beneficial? When you add to it the cost to get there.
Yeah.
So this is what I mean by you're suffering for, you suffer a ton, and it's to achieve something outside of your reality. So you suffer and suffer and suffer and suffer for that achievement. But what if that achievement isn't, what if you stop? What's going to happen? What feelings come up?
First thing I thought of is that people just forget about me.
Yes. Okay. Yes, they're going to forget about you. Let's accept that right now. So let's feel that out. Feel does that feel painful? What's it feel like when people forget about you?
Yes, it feels painful.
Okay, well, what's worse? The suffering that you've been doing to try to be remembered? All that suffering? Or, I mean, go into the feel of just no one knowing you exist. How does that feel? Compare the two. Which one's worse?
Wow. Well, being forgotten about feels a lot calmer.
Yeah, it requires no work on your part. You do nothing. You do nothing. Right? That's what you've been afraid of.
Yeah.
So go back into having to be the center of attention. Tell me how that feels.
Chaotic.
Horrible.
And separate.
It should feel horrible. Like a horror story.
Like a slave.
Yep. That's the suffering. That's what I was talking about. The suffering is very, very different than the pain of being alone, of not being remembered. The suffering is there to avoid aloneness. Wouldn't you agree? So you can't have both together. You're either in suffering trying to avoid being alone or in isolation or forgotten or not wanted or whatever it is. Your suffering is only in trying to reject aloneness. So the fact that you are not accepting aloneness is why you suffer. So if you can go into accepting aloneness, go into accepting of that aloneness, what happens to all the suffering?
It just disappears.
Yeah, because if you accept it, it means that you are going towards it willfully. That you're not being shoved, you're not being, you're not doing what you're told even though you don't want to. It is like I'm doing it willfully because I would rather. If given the choice to be alone or to suffer, which one is less horrible?
God, being alone.
Right?
For sure.
So wouldn't you rather want the aloneness and the pain than to have, and this is the thing, when you go into suffering, you still have that pain, you do, but you're constantly trying to remove it. It's almost like the pain exists at all times. You're just trying to cover it up, run away from it, hide it, push it around. You're constantly trying to fend it off, like perpetual war that never stops. So you're living in pain and suffering in that respect, constantly trying to deny what you don't want. That exists.
God.
Right? So you never really get any relief because they are continuously going on forever. So if you just go into pain as if you're accepting it, you go into accepting no one's going to remember me. Accept that willfully. what happens to the suffering?
just vanishes. There's just no need for it.
There's all of a sudden what happens to the shackles? What happens to the war? What happens to the controllingness? What happens to your jealousy? What happens to all of that?
It just kind of fades away.
It all just goes bye-bye. It's gone. It just, because there's no point to being jealous. You don't want people center of attention. You don't want it. You would rather be ignored.
Yeah.
Because in being ignored, you're free. You're free to be what you really are. You're free to be more connected. Wouldn't you rather someone else be the center of attention so that you can just relax, have a good time, have good conversation with people, really care about people now? Like actually have care for others? Because you can't have that when it's all about you being the center.
When I get, like, that's also been a huge part of my identity that I've inflated. I'm the best friend. I'm the most loyal. I'm the one they all come to talk to. I'm the one, it's been...
Do you really want that? Do you really want that? I mean, think about all the pressure and all of the shifty eyes and paranoia around who they're talking to, and they're not talking to you, and just think about how disconnected you are in reality. Do you really want that role?
Scorekeeping. Oh, he called you? Oh, really? Like,
yes. How do you like that? How do you like that?
It's gross. It's gross.
How does it? Is it worth it? I mean, that's because that's what you're committed to at this point. Because that's what you want.
Yeah.
That's suffering.
You don't even know how many. That's just like been such the cause of so much drama and conflict,
suffering,
and upset,
everything
bullshit.
Is yes.
It's like that's the center. Like I've just hit upon it, which I never.
Good. So, do you really want all that, or would you rather just be the person that people go to just be enjoy themselves with, rather than constantly need you as a rescuer? You're so important. Do you really want to be important? Do you really want that importance? Because you can't be real anymore.
Or to just not get a rush off either way. Like I was talking to a friend about like this guy into my body and like how I was like, oh, but it's brought up some stuff for me, and they were like, oh, well, why would you, why is it bringing up stuff for you? I mean, he really likes your body. He told you he likes your body, and I was like, you don't understand. Like, that's not the point. The point is I don't want to get any charge on either end, whether he likes my body or whether he doesn't like my body. Like, I can't be at the whim of what other people think of me. Like, and they just stared at me blankly. Like, but that's the thing. It's like, sure, if I'm, like, if someone wants to come to me and I'm a great Ben, great, but I'm not getting off on it. Like, it's just neutral. Everything's neutral that's happening.
Yeah, well, you only get that neutrality when you are okay with not being special.
Yeah, and that's so much of my identity, being special. Like, I just can't even. It's not like the price is. It's just getting stale and old. Trying to hold on to it. It's like.
Yeah, it's not worth it. So so when you get to the point where you're like, I'd rather be dull, boring, and nobody. If it means
that just sounds
freedom.
So good to me right now.
Well, because that choice relieves you from hell.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you rather? I mean, look at the choice. If you cannot face inferiority, and you cannot release superiority, because if you surrender that specialness, if you let that identity go, the special Chrissy, if you let that go, if you let her go, you have to face not being special. So there's both sides. I'm giving up what I get out of it.
Yeah.
Which also means I get rid of all the shit I gotta do to get it.
Yeah.
That's the suffering, all the drama, all the conflict, all the self-centeredness, all the pity, all the loathing, all the poor me of self, me.
You're just being on high alert all the time. Just high alert all the time.
Yeah, survival because you are not doing well. You're actually extremely insecure, right?
Yeah.
With the illusion like you're totally got your shit together, which you clearly don't, right? So then on the other side of that is you're not special. This is going to be a good one for you to rewatch. You're going to be like, Rabbit is such a bitch!
I mean, yeah, it's...
So the other side of that is I'm not special. People aren't going to come to me for advice. I'm not the know-it-all. I'm not the center of attention. So compare those two evils, if you want to call them that. You're going to be bland. It's going to be like nothing. It's going to be horrible. No one's going to pay attention to me, right? Go into that pain, because that's what it feels like to the narcissist, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To the special Chrissy, she's having a fit and feels really sorry for herself. So do you see how the feeling sorry for yourself is really just the old Chrissy having a tantrum, wanting to get what she wants? Saying, you should be my slave so that I can feel special.
Yeah, that's true.
So
it does feel like a tantrum. It really does.
Yes, and a lot of people get stuck there. But you're telling me I have to be fat in my ankle. It's my ankle, Robin. I need to be thinner.
My body, I did this to my body, and I do feel bad, but
you did the best you could with what you knew, and if you didn't know the whole entire diet industry is a big, huge scam of failure, and everybody who's in there is getting fatter. So the battle with weight is a perpetual battle that you do every year, all the time, all year long for decades, and it never stops until you decide I'm rather be fat, and then it stops.
Yeah.
Crazy how that works. But going into the pain of I have to be fat, it's like saying, well, then I will never have a boyfriend. Nope, you're never going to have a boyfriend, because those are the things you're not willing to accept. You'd rather suffer than to not have a boyfriend. Well, which one's worse, really? Have you suffered enough to where you'd rather not have a boyfriend? If it means you have to suffer to be thin to have someone like you, wouldn't you rather not have a boyfriend?
Yeah.
Me too. When do you get to the point where you're done changing who you are to please someone else just so that they give you the specialness? Oh, you're special to me because you do all of these favors for me, right? It's called the narcissist thrives on other narcissistic desires, right? People who are narcissistic like you because you'll do everything for them to get what you want out of it, which is, you're so special. I love you the most.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, you're feeding off of other narcissists. You're just, and you're competing for who's better than who in a relationship. It's weird. But it makes sense when you're stuck in survival mode this way. So don't feel bad about it. I would do the same thing under the same belief system, the same needs, to the same degree. If I was in all of that, I'd do the same thing. Don't you see that too? It's not like you've known all this shit and you did it anyways.
Yeah.
You actually thought this was the right thing to do, the right way to be. That people who are unique and superior are actually better people, and you wanted to be a better person. Is there something really wrong with that? No. You just went the route of narcissism to find some sense of evolution. Not realizing it's like cannibalizing yourself. For evolution, it's actually regression, right? Because it's inherently self-destructive. And it's pervasively destructive to everybody around you. So it's actually a very dangerous state of mind to be in for yourself and for others around you. Because you'll pick a fight. You create like drama in your head and you think you're right and you'll be like, oh no, you didn't. And then people will be like, what's her problem?
Exactly.
Oh, you know what you did. It's all in your head. Right? And it's full of drama, and it's still, once again, giving you attention. So you get something out of that. You have to surrender all that attention. Is it worth the suffering? Have you suffered enough yet? So you'll hear that not just with me and you talking, but in other sessions that you're watching with other clients. Did you suffer enough? Some people got to suffer some more.
Yeah.
To me, the suffering isn't that big of a deal. I mean, for me, it's a big deal. I'll never do it again. For reals. If I have a choice, I'm not going to make that one. I'd rather be inferior, insignificant, not liked, made fun of, left out in the middle of the ocean to survive floating on my back. All of those sound
Yeah.
better than your state of mind.
Yeah.
The state of mind you're in is hell. The darkest, darkest pits of hell, of isolation and self-torture around self-centeredism. And you're not surviving well in it. You're clearly suffering.
Yeah.
Horrible. I mean, you're in the same state of mind as our president. Ew. It's terrible, right? It's terrible.
I am. And I am. It's sort of like I'm also in like it where it's like I'm not gonna diet, but I guess I'm in a dieting state of mind, like you said. But I'm like not gonna. Normally, in the past, I would be like, okay, I'll fool myself into doing a round, or fool myself into.
And this time it'll be different.
And I'm like changing but I'm still stuck. I'm still suffering. I'm still, seeing my weight gain and like just not and feeling bummed about it.
There it is. That's it right there. Feeling bummed about it.
Yeah.
That's the truth. You've been in denial. The truth is you want your specialness. You want your superiority. You want a life that's better than the one you have.
Yeah.
And so if you want to get rid of all this, are you at the place where you are witnessing and recognizing the complete and total failure of it all?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, definitely.
Like it's a total shit show failure.
Oh yeah, and I mean it's also it is a lonely road. Trying to talk to anybody about it, they just stare at me like their eyes glaze over and like they don't even want to even consider not just fighting to stay thin. Like
they're not in the same place you are. So you can't expect someone to get it.
Or just kind of trying to share what I'm going through a little bit here and there, and they're just kind of look at me like.
Yeah, well, you've suffered. You've been doing this maybe more intensely than they have, more lengthier time, and so you're worse off. So again, I'm going to go back to my original question. Are you seeing that your way of doing it is a complete and total failure? Like it's terrible? Would you ever recommend this way of being to anybody?
No.
The goal is to be special, you guys. I'm going to teach you how to sparkle and be special so everybody get their attention. Because the key is being the center of attention. And this is the best life that you'll ever have, ever.
No.
So admit to yourself that way.
Down in the mud.
Okay. So admit to yourself that that is a horrible way of being. That it is not something anybody should be proud of. It should not be promoted. You would never teach this even to your worst enemy. And you release yourself from having to continue to do it. And the way you release yourself from having to continue to do it is you put all of the benefits you get out of it in a box. Because the benefit you get out of it is what? What is it that you're chasing that you think you get benefits from? People like me. Well, no, they don't. They like the conditions that you're supplying for them. Right? People
or how I'm making them feel in a fleeting moment. I'm making them feel.
You're not making them feel anything. No one makes anybody feel anyway. They make themselves feel that way, and you don't have that power to do that.
Yeah.
So stop playing God. You don't. You got to get that God center of yourself out of this. You are not God. You cannot manipulate people the way you think you can. So you surrender that. I will not manipulate people ever again. You could say in the box that you're giving back that you could manipulate people, that you had the illusion of medium, like you were God and you had sorceress powers and you could manipulate people. You're done. Give that up. Do you really want that?
No, I don't.
So you stop doing that shit. It's not worth it anymore. So it's kind of like a visual I want you to see is like you've got armor on, you've got weapons, you have all these tools that you've been using, and you're clearly sucking and failing at all of it. I mean, it is a horrible, you're failing and it's obvious.
My little sword is drooping.
Oh yeah, and it doesn't do and it's hurting yourself. It just turns inward. You go to stab someone else and it goes into yourself. You're not equipped. You don't really get it. You're insignificant. You're inferior to what you're trying to do. And when do you just admit that? What happens if you just admit it?
But I'm free. At least I'm facing what I've been running from.
Yep. And actually admitting that it's pathetically horrible. And you suck at it. You're pathetic. You're inferior. It's true. It should feel kind of good. Just say, God, I'm failing.
It does feel good.
I suck at this.
Something's fucked up with me. What is it?
I'm a terrible narcissist. I suck at narcissism. I clearly suck at it.
I do. You know, and then people would be like, "Oh, you're just in a conflict. They're just jealous of you.
Oh,
and don't
yeah.
ever let anybody tell you. That's just your insecurity. Nothing's wrong with you. You're so amazing, Kristen. Like, oh, just what do you mean? You think something like?" And I would just go, "Something's off here with me.
Yeah,
I don't know
people
what the
are
fuck
jealous. That's so narcissistic to even just say, isn't it? Because jealousy comes from the desire for superiority. So it comes from a sense of I'm inferior and I want their superiority. It's so narcissistic.
Yeah, it really is just
talk about failing.
It's yeah. This is really
failing. Fail.
Just totally like going down in flames right now. I'm like going.
I'm trying to help you do it. Am I helping?
Yeah, no, you are helping me.
Okay, good.
It's just being able to to just, I don't know, just confess these things to someone who isn't going to try to comfort me and tell me.
Hell no, are you kidding?
You can't help it if you have the burden of being a star.
No.
I know, with the more gifts you have, the more pressure it is if you're not using them. You're so amazing. That's
yes.
You just need to get and even just getting off on that kind of, or trying to be comforted by that, but then just knowing, no, that's just off too. No, that's not what I need to hear. That's not.
Well, the good news is you can tell. What's that gonna do? It does nothing. You're suffering. You're miserable. Yeah. Everything's. Yeah. It's just, again, look at the big picture and recognize how this isn't something that's superior. This is not winning. This is really terrible. The reality of it. The fantasy of it is like awe-inspiring, right? You'll chase after it for millennia. But reality is, it's torture. It's prison. It's disconnected.
I drive by this homeless guy all the time, like by the post office. He just is laying on the sidewalk every day, just, fucked up, filthy, half dead, just staring at the sky. And I drive by him and I just look at him and I'll just be like, wow.
He's free.
He's living the dream.
I so know that. Yeah, he is.
He is not one bit inferior to another person the way he's choosing to live his life.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
I'm like, granted, if we all did that, no one who would, hunt and collect and build shelter, but still, the fact that he's just so free, this is how he's just sitting with looking at the sun, and this is how he's alive, and that's what he's doing. He's not trying to do anything else, and it's just, I envy him almost.
Well, you know what it took for him to get there, right? Oh, what you're doing! Oh my God!
Wow, yeah, that's true. Then all of a sudden one day he just said, "Fuck it all, I'm just gonna park it."
Well, he lost it all before he realized he should stop.
Yeah.
So what are you waiting for? You waiting to get fatter? You waiting to continue to keep on dieting? You waiting to... do you really need, complete and total destruction before you decide this sucks?
No.
Right? Some people, it has to get that low because they will not give up the pride. They will not give up their superiority even though their reality is so completely inferior and disgusting and horrible. Right? Yeah. In their mind, they're so... someone did me wrong. Poor me. Poor me. Poor me.
Yeah, that kind of hurts.
Pretty much.
I was still just digesting that I'm controlling. I'm gonna have to digest that Poor
Well,
me
it's all the
as well.
same. It's all the same. All the same thing. They're not separate things. Those are the same thing.
Yeah.
You know? So get over it.
Yeah.
Who cares? That's what you did, thinking it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Now look at how it's worked out. How's it working out?
Not good.
Yeah. So can you surrender it all and just say, I'm done. I'm not going to hold myself to that way of being anymore. I don't have to. You have free will. You have free agency.
Yeah.
You don't have to believe that anymore. You don't have to believe people have to be superior to exist. So what are all the neutral people out there, non-existent and horrible and feel terrible? Does everybody in the world except for the supremacists feel like shit about themselves?
No.
Like you said, that homeless person in that moment was in pure bliss, staring at the sky.
Yeah, just in the moment.
Yeah, just relieved from his own misery, trying to prove himself better than that. Right? I'm not suggesting homelessness. Because what it took for that person to get there was total and complete destruction the way that you're going.
Yeah.
Right? So, and it's sad when you really look at what's happening for you. Because you could look at your integrity and your heart and say you never intended any of this. You didn't intend that. You didn't intend to be self-centered. That wasn't the intention. You weren't even aware of the self-centeredness until you had to suffer enough to look at it from the outside. And the only reason you have the ability to look at it from the outside is, one, you were willing to pay someone for help that was not nice about it. Right? Not being... It's pathetic. It is. I'm just saying the truth.
Oh, God. Thank you. It feels so good.
Well, it should when you admit the truth. I'm not telling you something that's not true.
Yeah,
but you know,
it is severely. It's severely horrific.
I know.
Like, seriously, severely fucking awful.
And you feel sorry for yourself because you can't have it. That was a moment for me that was very, very important. Because I felt sorry for myself too. And I realized I wasn't going anywhere. I was in my mind giving it up, but no, I wasn't. Feeling sorry for yourself means that you're not really giving it up. You're being forced to give it up, and you have to be miserable your whole life. Mm-hmm. You haven't done anything. You're just sitting in your shit, complaining that it stinks. You know, and so what you've got to do now is you have to kind of you have to really open yourself up to, is this really a detriment if I give this up? This is where becomes a choice. This is like divorce.
Okay.
Is this really something to feel sorry for myself if I'm relieved of it? If you are relieved from the self-centered Chrissy persona, should you feel sorry for yourself? Because it doesn't sound like you really enjoyed it much.
No, I haven't been enjoying it.
It's horrible. The suffering is massive. It's dark. It's demented, actually. It's full of mental illness. It's paranoid. Just the list goes on and on and on. Should you really feel sorry for yourself if you are relieved of that?
No, I shouldn't. That's awesome. I hadn't really thought of that.
I know. Well, this is kind of important.
I've just been sort of basking in it, like which I think was part of the process. Just seeing my what brings on anxiety, what thoughts are bringing them on, why do I, instead of like, oh, I just get anxiety. Like I had to go, no, it's deeper than that.
Well,
like,
and so to do that, you had to sit in anxiety. You had to actually sit in fear and sit in anxiety, and you had to process through it. But I will tell you that once you start feeling sorry for yourself, it gets worse.
Yeah.
That like magnifies. And it's like you're going to go back into the suffering that way. So if you want relief from the suffering, does it even make sense to feel sorry for yourself?
No.
Not at all, because you're just going to go back into that suffering because you feel
Yeah.
sorry you can't do what you need to do to feel better. Well,
I think I
Well-
might be almost done feeling sorry for myself. I feel like I'm.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do with you right now. That's the whole intention for me right now in this conversation. We started with you're feeling sorry for yourself, and I'm trying to get you to the point where you see that this is not worth feeling sorry for. I'm getting relief from all this misery. And on the other side of it, I might be alone because that's the fear. That's where the pain is. I'm going into that pain. I'm accepting everything it says. No one's going to like you. I accept no one's going to like me because that's better than that. So you're actually willfully going towards what you don't want. And you want it more than that. It's a wanting this more than that.
Yeah.
And so what happens is there's no threat going that direction anymore. The fear diminishes. I would rather have that than this. It's always been, I'd rather have this than that. So we're basically taking the dial and shifting it the other direction. Yeah. I would rather be alone. I'd rather have no one like me. I'd rather not be the special one. I'd rather be the one in the background no one notices.
Yeah.
Because I'm relieved from horror. Absolute horror trying to be special. I'm done.
That feels really good.
Well,
really does. It feels really calming.
Well, you have to make this decision. I'm over here in Idaho. You're down there in California, and I'm giving you guidance. I can't do it for you. I can't convince you to do it, but I'm trying to give you clarity. So, like me saying, like, what you're feeling sorry for is pathetic shit. And you can see that and go, it is. It is pathetic shit. I would never suggest this to anybody. It's horrible. It goes nowhere. You just live in complete and total misery. And none of your relationships work out. They're all superficial. Everybody's backstabbing each other. You can't trust anybody because all you attract are the same type of people. Because you think about and talk about the same cool things for sparkly people. You know? And you attract people who are good talking bad about normal people. I would rather be so normal and be talked bad about. Right? A normal person people can talk bad about. I would so much rather. That to me is like so easy. It's like hanging out with a bunch of kindergartners. Does it really hurt my feelings? No. I just don't care.
Yeah.
You get to where you just... what it does is it gives you this freedom to be real, to tell the truth. And it comes from this heart-focused integrity that any relationship you have moving forward has to be based on truth. Reality. That's it. You live in reality. You stop living in fantasy worlds. You know? And do you really want to be with people who live in fantasy worlds? No, because your back is going to get stabbed. Because at some point they're going to make something up about you and you're going to be like, what are they talking about? And then they're going to treat you like you did something wrong and they're going to be pissed that you don't apologize for what you did wrong when you didn't even know what you did. You're just being yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeez.
You need to make a choice. You're at a point, you're in a good place. So I do want to say congratulations. The work you've done to get to this point, it's not easy work. Because it's like continuous misery.
Just looking in the mirror like I've never looked, just being so honest with I hear you say to clients all the time, just tell the truth, tell yourself the truth, and I'll tell myself something, and then I'll just go, wait a minute, and I'll go back to it, and I'll just say no, and I'll just keep digging, and then boom, I'll find the truth.
Yeah, it's kind of like
such a simple truth. It'll be a simple thing, like
you being jealous, and it feels good to express it.
It does.
Yeah, it's like you're growing up, you're maturing, you're maybe at like age 10 now. It happens.
Congratulations, you hit double digits.
It happens rapidly. It's a very rapid maturation. It's incredible. I mean, when I came out of this, I was about 4 years old emotionally, and it was whoosh. Because you're willing to go into that pain. You go into the pain of the truth. The next step for you is not feeling sorry for yourself. Actually feeling grateful.
Wow.
Where you feel gratitude for reality. Because you no longer have to hold on to some fiction story about yourself anymore. It's fiction.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Just this blown up, oversized version of myself that's just exhausting to keep up.
Yeah, you do not have to continue to play that role. Even if someone goes, ha, we knew she wasn't special. You're going to go, I was never special in the first place. You guys are gullible.
Yeah, I mean, this just feels so much at the heart of some of my issues, like just so bingo bullseye.
Well,
and it's true.
What are you going to do about it?
I'm going to be grateful for it.
Just be grateful you have the choice that I do not have to keep on doing this. I don't have to play this role anymore. I can choose right now that I am done permanently. How would that feel, Chrissy? How would that feel? If I said to you, okay, you served your terrible karma. You did it. You don't have to do this anymore. You can just quit and just go into the background now.
It feels so good. It just feels really good. Thank you.
And then you're going to be like, what the fuck did I do to deserve that? That was terrible. Whatever it was, it must have been bad for you to have to serve that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been exhausting, and it's been like such a private hell that it's just...
And it is so private. Isn't that the truth? And that's part of the hardship too, is that because you have to maintain the facade.
Yeah.
And so you live in hell trying to promote something that isn't true and doesn't exist out of pride. So that you don't have to be embarrassed. A moment of embarrassment for people to go, she's not special. Well, that moment is temporary. Living in hell is permanent. Living in hell meaning you're not willing to be embarrassed. Well, then you have to live in hell until you do it.
Yeah.
So let yourself be embarrassed. Let yourself be denied. Let yourself be rejected. So all of those things are nothing compared to the hell you've been living in.
So true.
Right? So go into your pain. Just start surrendering everything that comes up. Okay. You're going to be ugly. I would rather be ugly. Okay. So every threat that comes at you, no one's going to want to be your friend. I don't want friends that are like that. So you see how you just, the part of it that's like throwing all the threats eventually loses total credibility.
Yeah.
It's like the abuser has nothing to abuse you with anymore because you really like everything he's throwing at you. It's like, I like that better. I like being rejected better than living in misery.
Yeah.
I'd prefer rejection over that. It's easier. It's quick. At least you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
This or that. This or that. That's where you're at right now.
Yeah, I am.
And the thing about it is it's going to feel permanent. That's why this is, I think, so intense. The intensity of it is massive because it feels like permanence. And I will tell you, it is permanent. I have permanently been changed since I've been through this. No, it's permanently changed me.
Yeah.
I can't go back. I could never do it. They'd have to have brain damage. And I still then don't think that I would spiritually go back to that place. It's just so unevolved. I've evolved beyond it.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a very small, tight little box we live in.
It is. It's not worth it. Wouldn't you rather live in the open space of infinity of nothingness and not knowing who you are? Wouldn't that be much easier?
Yeah.
Because that's what it's going to feel like too, is that I don't know what to expect. Nope. And I'd rather not know. Because not knowing and the vulnerability of not knowing is so much better than what I already know. which is horrible. At least I know I won't be doing that.
Yeah, it's true. I found myself, I keep saying, you're surrendering your identity, like kind of, and then I'll just have this thought come up, like, what are my interests?
Right?
Like I literally am like, oh wait, whoa, yeah.
What are my interests?
And I'll just say it over and over again, and I'll just stare out the window. I'll be like, I like horses.
Yeah.
And kitty cats.
And my favorite color is yellow.
Yeah.
And it's so much better.
I'm crying about that. I'm like, what's your favorite color? She's like, I don't know. But I know that place, and it's such a still, beautiful place to be in. Like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I fucked up that too. What am I going to do? And I'll just be like, calm down. What are your interests? What do you feel like doing? Like, and it is a nice. I am going to have to learn who I am, but I guess all I know is like that I'm not intentionally out to hurt someone. And
no, you're a good soul. You've actually done a good job. You just got twisted and turned around.
Yeah.
So all that work and all that effort really went into destruction. It didn't build anything. And you didn't know that. So, you have quite a bit of life left. Try something new. Why do you got to hold on to the old paradigm? Just because it sucks. Why don't you just leave it? This is where suicide comes in for a lot of people. They don't know how else to get out of it. They think by killing the body, they kill this paradigm. They don't. That's not what happens. At least that's from my awareness when I was not contemplating, when I had chosen suicide and I was preparing for it, psychologically, spiritually preparing to die.
Oh, Jesus,
and I had that out-of-body experience. And in that experience, I became very aware that this was not a physical problem that would resolve with a physical ending. This was absolute spiritual problem.
Yeah.
It was like I had signed a contract with the devil. And if I don't do it in this lifetime, I'm going to have to do it in the next one. Meaning, resolve it.
Yeah, I've been telling myself I'm not having a midlife crisis. I'm having a midlife reevaluation.
You're having like 500 past lives. 500,000 past life problems, Think of all of this shit accumulated to this point to where you have to surrender and say, I'm done. I am going to surrender everything to reality. Whatever reality is, that's what I am.
Man, that feels so good.
Right. It's the best. It is because it's so truthful and it requires no work. It's just saying the truth. It's being in the truth, accepting your truth. And you know what? What if you are inferior? What if you actually are an inferior human being? Is there anything you can do about that?
Nope.
I know. So you might as well live in your inferior beingness and have a good time with it.
Oh my God, this is like so hugely major.
Well, you came to me in the right state of mind to where I went, oh, she's here. And I went, click. You were not ready to hear this when we first started talking.
Oh God, not at all. I was thinking about that the other day, how I was like so proud to tell you, oh well, I lost 100 pounds and kept it off for 15 years, and I wasn't tortured. And then I looked and I was really thinking about it, and sometimes I will think, God, how did I do that? I wasn't upset or worrying all the time. I just kept my weight down. And I think I was happy. And then I'm like, no, you weren't. You still wouldn't date and go on a dating site because you thought you were too fat. Like, that's not being free.
That's not better.
That's not better.
You're still holding yourself hostage, and you tortured yourself and starved yourself and have to maintain the starvation, and you still can't go out. So you don't get rewarded.
Yeah, I never got rewarded. And it was sort of like, I think I just... I lived in fear. The wolves are always nipping at the door.
Because, reality sucks and you don't want it. So, wouldn't you...
And then I literally had the thought, then I would try to think, well, why can't I just go back there? At least I was, smaller. And then I would go, no. And guess what? But now you've had a spiritual awakening. Don't you want a spiritual awakening?
Yeah, you're just evolving.
Yeah.
You're ready to move forward now. I think you learned your lesson. Again, I think I've said this to other people too, and whether you believe it or not doesn't matter, but it's like you had karma that had to be served. Like you had time in hell that had to be served, and you just served it.
Yeah.
So now at this point, it's a choice if you want to stay or go.
And so it's just in the little moments that you choose, like
No,
when
it is
the
a mass.
thought tries to come to you and you notice it, that you just say, no, you just.
No, this is, you're at a point where it's not, I'm going to practice awareness and as thoughts comes up. No, this is a moment where you make a decision, and this is a big one, Chrissy. This is not just, no, you're not going to passively wait to see what happens. You're going to actively make something change.
Okay.
Does that make any sense what I'm saying? Are you kind of, are we in the right page right now?
I'm trying to think, like, I almost feel like going out and, like, burning, like, a voodoo doll of my old self or something.
Well,
like
you can do
ceremony.
that, but it needs to happen internally. It has to happen intrinsically. So whether you burn it or do some type of ritual is really meaningless. It has to happen from the inside, not on the outside. Right? So it's like actually saying, I don't want the specialness. I literally feel it from the inside. I would rather have neutral dumbness, ugliness. All of those things are better, and I'd rather. So you accept them. You don't have to create that. You just accept that that could happen.
Yeah. You
just go, well, this is the body I'm in. And if people think I'm ugly, I'm cool with that. Hey, what if I am ugly? Well, what's wrong with being ugly? So so that's where acceptance takes you.
Uh-huh.
You know, so your way of looking at it completely starts to shift. I was born, this isn't even my DNA. This is like how many thousands of years of evolution of DNA and evolution that I am now attached to in a body. It's not even my body. Why am I sitting here pretending like I'm bad because my body's bad? Well, who says my body's bad?
Yeah.
It's alive. It's working. You're conscious. You can hear me. You can see. You have hair that grows. Your body adjusts to the temperature. You can actually still walk.
Yeah.
There's so much life in the body that it gives you freely. You didn't even earn it. But then again, if you're here and we believe in karma, you did earn this. So congratulations, you're a human in misery. And there's an alternative way of being, and you don't have to be in misery anymore. All you got to do is accept inferiority. Accept it. And what that comes with, it comes with people won't like me. Yep, people won't like you. You go into accepting everything that's attached to it. And it's basically unbrainwashing you to do that. You go into the unbrainwashing. No one's going to like you. Yes, no one will like me, and I would rather that. So you're kind of getting rid of all of the fear tentacles that are kind of holding you tight to this. If you accept every single, like, think of it as a tentacle that's kind of got your soul encapsulated. If all of those threats you can go in and willingly accept, what happens to all of it? Every tentacle ends up having no strength, and you become a free agent. You are now a free agent. Because you don't need any of that shit. You're like, I'm fine. I'm not manipulated by the narcissism and the wants of the world. It's like that third hierarchy of need gets closed. It's good now. You're cool with rejection and abandonment. What's the likelihood you're going to be triggered again?
Yeah.
Never.
I like that.
And you enter those higher states of consciousness that you can only get access to when you're not in survival mode. And you're going to be surprised at how easy it is. It's like, this is the easiest way to live. That guy, he was probably homeless. He was probably in this state.
That feels good. I love that. I want that.
Well, you can have it. It's always been there. You just have to decide that you'd rather this freedom, and you don't want the superiority anymore. You don't want that God. You don't want their heaven. You don't want their acceptance. You don't want anything that requires this suffering. You will never suffer this way again for someone else's approval. Nobody, not a parent, not a system, not a religion, not a political party, not a husband, not a child. You will never, ever, ever suffer like this again for anybody's approval. If they can't accept you and your wholehearted truth, then that's something that they have to deal with, not you. And you'd want to know it sooner than later. If they're going to reject you, find out sooner than later. And the only way to find out is to be truthful and real about who you actually are.
Yeah.
I like to use my videos as an example. Do you think I'm hiding anything, Chrissy?
God, no.
So people reject me all the time. I just never, I don't care. They don't like my language. They don't like how upfront I am. They don't like the, assertive type. They wouldn't like this session. It probably wouldn't work out.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I'd rather someone see the truth of how I work and eliminate themselves immediately.
Yeah. I would much rather. I've had so much therapy through the years, and I do feel that different things helped me and moved me forward and this and that, but it's like I've never, had someone just rattle my fucking cage like this. Like, because you can, I don't want to have my hand held. Like, that hasn't got me anywhere. Just someone, it's great. Like, look what you've accomplished. Look at your life that you've created for yourself.
Yeah, what that's doing is negotiating with the narcissism.
Yeah, and I just never was like, no, I need something. I need a shakedown, man, a huge shakedown.
Yeah.
And there you are.
All right. Well, you have some thinking to do. You really need to keep on thinking on your own here. I can't do this part for you. And this part is the part that actually gets people like that awakening happens. It's a moment it happens. And it's the moment the choice is made. And it's almost like you etch it in stone. I will never do this again. And you wash your hands and you're like, I am free. I'm free. I don't have to hold myself to those standards ever again. Those standards are inhumane. And no one is going to be held to those in my mind either. So I'm free from them, and everybody in the world that I'm around, they're free from my own opinion too.
Yeah.
Right? The old opinion. It's very self-loving. It's a very lovingness for yourself that is not narcissistic.
Yeah. I can feel that.
Because it's the truth. You're just letting the truth come out rather than having to stuff the truth down, hide it, and pretend to be something else. You're just letting the truth out. So.
And that it is just so much more than just wanting to lose weight and look good. Like, I think, too, I was kind of I had to even just go deeper into all this other stuff that I didn't want to look at that was the chains and wanting to special and this and that. Like, that's hard to admit to myself, let alone to another person. But then it's like, it's not so fucking bad. I was just doing my best, and
and you thought that it would work out. You thought it was actually going to help you connect with people.
Yeah, and that I can choose something different right now.
Yeah, if you just surrender and admit failure and done, I'm not doing this again, and be okay with failure.
Yeah.
Admit it, you failed. Just admit it. And admit that you're quitting.
Yeah, I'm quitting everything, not just dieting, but wanting to be the queen bee.
Yeah, it's not worth it. You tried your hardest, and it still wasn't good enough. And that's the thing. Should anybody have to work that hard? Do you really want the queen bee if it requires more than what you've already done? So is really the queen bee something we should be promoting?
No.
That's what I mean by brainwashing. It's like, why are we promoting this shit? This is like religious extremism.
Yeah.
Which you've had experience with, so you get that.
Yeah.
It's like the queen bee is your new religion.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording. And